So I thought I'd talk about willingness today. Willingness. Willingness to live and live well. If today were the last of all days, would you be spending it miserable? Is that what you will? But nobody believes today's the last of all days, so I've got time. So I can go ahead and be miserable. Oh, I've got time to be unhappy. I've got time to be unhealthy. I've got time to be poor. I've got time to hate. I've got time to resent. I've got time to think I'm the worst person ever. I've got time. Well, you've also got time to be happy. You've got time to be joy-filled. You've got time to be wealthy. You've got time to be well. And the best time I know of is today. You've got time to forgive. I don't know that we've got time to forget, but we've at least got time to restructure, to rethink. And it's today. Today is the last day. Today is the last day. Today's also the first day. And Jesus said you must die to yourself daily. You must die to yourself daily. And that's it. You must be born anew. So it makes sense that we're always in two states. Two states. One state is perpetual mourning, for the death. Death of who I am not. Not the death of who I am, but the death of who I thought I was and found out I'm not. And then, it's a day of great celebration. To find out, I am the beloved child of God. Whether I know it or not. Whether I recognize it or not. And Charles Fillmore, here in the Revealing Word, I looked up divine will. I want to see I like to see exactly how he phrased it. And he says here, the will is the executive faculty of the mind, the determining factor in man. What man wills or decrees comes to pass in his experience. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Shingles. Now, if you don't know, divine will sits right behind the left eye, the divine mind faculty of our 12. We have 12 divine mind faculties, and will sits behind the left eye. Over here behind the right eye is understanding. Now it says here, it is the avenue through which the I am expresses its potentiality. The will may be said to be the man because it is the directive power that determines character formation. When man wills to do the will of God, and what is the will of God?
Happy.
That we be happy, joyous, and free. When man wills to do the will of God, he exercises his individual will in wisdom, love, and spiritual understanding. He builds spiritual character. The use of the will is very important in making demonstrations. One must be very persistent, since persistence is essential to demonstration. Truth builds the perfect body, and the will must resolutely lay hold and keep hold of the word of truth until the word becomes flesh. And it says here, will and desire. Desire is a reaching out of the mind for satisfaction. Will is the controlling, directing faculty of mind. One may have the desire to be well and yet not have the will to be well. What?
Can you say that again?
Yes. One may have the desire to be well and yet not have the will to be well. I certainly desire to be well all the time, but am I willing to change my thoughts to thoughts of wellness? I desire to be wealthy, but would I change my thoughts? Am I willing to change my thoughts from thoughts and words of poverty to thoughts and words of great abundance? Yes, I'd like to live in harmony all the time, and if those darn people would just change, I could. That's not willingness to live in harmony. That's the willingness to live in inharmony, in chaos. When I am afraid that I will lose what little I have, I'm not willing to have abundance. When my words speak of what is wrong, what I'm demonstrating is a willingness to know there are things wrong. What you are currently thinking what you are currently speaking, what you are currently demonstrating, that is your will. You're not bad for it. I'm not bad for it. I'm not stupid. I'm not foolish. I just can always know where my will lies. And we're not going to play the metaphysical malpractice game. See what you got? There is no punishment. There is absolutely no punishment. If I were to have fallen down in that ice today, that's not the will of God. It's not my will to fall. But what I think about it is my will. The experience I have of it is my will. I did not fall down today. In fact, I had new ideas I never expected. I was really impressed with, quite frankly. I drove flat roads to get here, and I thought, go to Walmart and buy salt for the church. Salt or ice melt. Well, Walmart, I had to walk from there to there from my parking place. Not so good. That was not wisdom to me. And so I got back into my car, and I saw Home Depot next door. And I saw a parking garage, and I saw cars in. I thought they must be open early on Sunday. So I went over to the parking garage, parked, and I bought the ice melt. And here's something I would not have thought of before. I had bought a bucket and a little thing to spread it. I opened the big bag of ice melt in the parking garage and filled up the bucket there and filled up the spready thing there. And then I drove here, or skated here, as the case may be. And so that way when I opened my car door, I could spread it right outside my car door and walk around my car, and then I could spread it all over as much as the front sidewalk as 25 pounds would go this morning. There was nothing treacherous, there was nothing dangerous. I just had gratitude that, oh, this is a very different experience. It became far less fearful than that experience ever would have been. A year ago, we walked out of here one Sunday, and it was a sheet of ice out there. It was not at 10:30. At noon, it was a sheet of ice. And I was shocked at how panicked I was just to get to the restaurant next door. Just to get, my will was that I am willing to be afraid. I am so willing to be afraid at the core of my being that I will fall, and what if I fall? What if I fall? I do not. Now, I won't tell the story here, because Diane Bustamante, in a pair of Mary Janes, no less, and a skirt, walks right through that ice last year. No problem. I'm there. In snow boots. Terrified, and I'm in the middle where there's nothing to grab on, and I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? There's nothing. I'm going to have to live here till it melts. Diane walks right along in her skirt and her black Mary Janes. And I thought, her will is to get from here to there. My will was to be afraid. It was very clear. I'm not bad for that, but I observed it. And I have to observe, do I like my will today? Am I pleased with my will today to be paralyzed? I was at a 12-step meeting last night, and it was a beginner's meeting, and the topic was lost and found. And what did you lose in your drinking days? And then what have you found in sobriety? And I thought of a lot of things at first, and I thought, oh no, I didn't even have those before I drank. I thought of so many things I'd lost, but no, I lost those as a little child. Many things. But one of the things I lost, and you've heard me talk about this before, and it may seem odd. When I was 10, I taught myself how to smoke. And believe it or not, that was a choice for joy. I loved smoking, even at that age. At 12, I taught myself how to drive. And I drive. I take the car. That was my mother's. I didn't go. No, I didn't. I couldn't have asked and received it. But the police never caught me. The police never had a problem. No one on the road had a problem. My family didn't. Why? I'm a good driver. But what you have to understand is the courage I had to take those kind of risks. The great power within me to say, this is what I want to do. Let's try it. And then when I went into my first bar at 15, the end of 9th grade, my world started getting smaller and more fearful, and I took smaller risks, and it got to the point where I was afraid of losing what little I had. And then 21 years ago, I put it down, and I began to take risks again. And I remember a few years into sobriety, I started going to Atlantic City. A friend of mine lived there for the summer, Nancy. Many of you know her. She was doing a show. And I found out I lived 2 blocks from Port Authority. And for very little money, I could grab my rollerblades at 7 in the morning, and there's a hotel that was $25 a night, half a block from the boardwalk, clean, wonderful, big, like all grandma's wallpaper, big flower prints and everything, big print carpets. It was a wonderful place. And I didn't have to plan for 3 or 4 weeks. I could decide that day and just call them and say, Frank, can you take me? And run down for $20. And get $10 back in quarters. I could run down to Atlantic City, and I started getting bigger. My world started getting bigger. And then one year I decided let's go to ministerial school. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's take risks. Let's get into a relationship. Let's get a job. That's something that you would like to have as a career. Because I was willing to. Because my will said I can. I found out that God loved me. Could not love me. Could not love me. Do you understand? God cannot not love you. God has no grievance towards you. No matter how mean you have been, no matter how foolish you have been, no matter who doesn't like you on planet Earth, no matter who you don't like on planet Earth, past or present, doesn't matter. God cannot not love you. And so, with that, my will can begin to shift. I can get on board with some joy. The other day I was writing in my journal. I think the letter I have for this week is written, choose for joy, Spirit told me. Choose for joy. And I said, but what about if I'm choosing for joy and friends of mine or people I love are unhappy? And Spirit wrote back, they can choose for joy anytime they want. Do not choose for guilt, Shawn. Do not choose for guilt. It won't help either one of you. Do not choose for shame. Do not choose for lack. Choose for joy. It doesn't say choose for selfishness. It doesn't say choose for instantaneous satisfaction. And in fact, it was quite clear on that. It said choose for joy. What will bring you joy? One last thing. In my lovely yellow book on page 153, and I've read this so many times. Holy Spirit in this book says, let me tell you a secret. Let me tell, not the secret, but let me tell you a secret. As you travel this path, you will have only 2 experiences. And it may seem like many, but in truth, it is only 2. One experience will speed you along your journey in joy. The other will delay your journey a little while. You notice it doesn't say it will screw up your journey. It will delay your journey a little while. The secret is a simple and joyful journey, the secret to a simple and joyful journey is to learn to discern between these 2 experiences and then always choose the joyful one. I've spoken to you of both experiences before, so this is a reminder for you. The only 2 experiences that you will know as we travel this path together are the experience of your willingness and the experience of your resistance. 2. Willingness, resistance. Everything you think you experience is one or the other, so do not worry about your progress on this path. Do not judge your own thoughts or actions, for worry and judgment do not bring joy, and so they cannot be willingness. Discern carefully, my friend. Recognize the thought within your mind, and at every opportunity choose the strength of your willingness. Seek only for the kingdom, and all things will be given you. Where your heart is, your treasure is also. It will be helpful if you remember this. God's will is that you be perfectly happy in every moment of eternity. And I could ask, well, how am I supposed to be happy in this? Remember, it's not about manufacturing joy. It's about going to the innate quality. I can be crying and still have the joy of God within me. I can lose someone I love and still have the joy of God within me. Mostly because I don't understand misery. I don't understand life, and I don't understand death. And I don't. In my trying to, I'm choosing resistance. If I'm demanding answers, well, why is it like this? That's my resistance to the experience. That's how I would choose resistance. Oh, I'm so fat. That is choosing resistance. I'm so stupid, so poor, I'm so this, I've been treated so. That is my resistance. That's not my willingness. It's not my willingness for God. So it goes on. God's will is that you be perfectly happy in every moment of eternity. That is simple, and not easy, simple. And so when you are not happy, you have made a choice that is not God's will. When you are not happy, you have chosen with resistance. That is all. It's not a fight or a rebellion. It is merely resistance. It does not take you from God or separate you from God. It merely resists your willingness to know God. So whenever you're not happy, it is because you are resisting accepting truth. To be happy again, all you need do is return your heart to your willingness. Your willingness sings of God's will. And so give yourself to it in every hour to know happiness. And let me tell you another secret. The world cannot make you happy. And so the world must not be God's will for you. The world is to be experienced, not to be judged, not to be criticized, not to be hated, and not to be loved. It is to be experienced. We all have some of these wild, crazy experiences, wouldn't you say? Some of us have gone so far down that we have turned to God. We've gotten so unhappy that God could be the only solution. Then how wonderful the bottom is. How fantastic the bottom is. Some of you have very big bottoms. The will of God for us is to be happy, joyous, and free. So let's keep coming back. Kenneth's about to sing a song of David's. And it's, I invite you to accept the love of God as you listen to this. In all joy, in all willingness,